23-year-old male, you can call me Brian. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible. Basically, I was born in the church. I'm known as a church boy. I sing, I play the drums, and they are now trying to make me a minister at the church. Anyways, when I was younger, I used to hang out with this guy. We can call him Nick. Nick was in his mid to late 20s at the time, and he used to pick me up and drive me to the church. Nick was a minister. I looked at him as the older brother I always wanted until one night he was driving me home and he kissed me in the car. Not only did he kiss me, but he grabbed my crotch and told me that it felt big. Anyway, I jumped out of that car and ran all the way back home, about 3 miles. I never rode with him again. Fast forward to now, Nick is the youth pastor at my church. He's married to a woman. No one has ever come forth to say anything about him making sexual advances to them, and I wonder if I'm alone. I've never really discussed it with him. I myself am a straight male, and I'm engaged to a young lady that attends my church as well. Problem is, just this past Sunday, Nick made another advance towards me. He hadn't done that since I was 10 years old, and I genuinely thought that maybe he'd changed, but he didn't. I don't know what the heck was wrong with me, but at that moment, I kind of felt like I wanted to kiss him back. I've never been attracted to another man before, and I'm really not attracted to him either. My best friend says that it's because I haven't dealt with what happened when I was younger, but I don't know for sure. It makes me heck of uncomfortable to think that I wanted to kiss another nigga in his mouth, and even though I pushed away from him, it still bothers me that for a second I contemplated it. My questions are, should I tell anyone about what happened with me and Nick when I was younger, since he is now the youth pastor, and do you think I just need to deal with what happened, or that I could possibly be attracted to another man? Now this one, y'all, Lord, this is a terrible story, because nothing gets to me more than children that have been taken advantage of sexually, children that have been abused, you know, just those kind of stories. It's like somebody scratching a chalkboard. Bad thing about it is, you know, people place their children in the care of an adult, and you trust that they're going to take care of your child, that they're not going to hurt your child, especially in the church. This is the one place that your child should be the safest. But for the most part, I do believe that this is what church is, and this is how, you know, many see church. But you know, it's always some 1 or 2 stories that got to fuck it up for everybody. So Nick, okay, he went on and got his nerves up and kissed you back when you were 10 years old, and you were smart enough to cut it off when it happened. In a perfect world, you know, you would have reported it. But you know, we all understand that you were a child and that you were scared and you were forced to face some really adult issues that children really should never have to think about at that age. So that's understandable. The years pass along, and you know, he's left you alone, and you didn't deal with him any longer, and you know, you felt like everything was fine. But on the real, you don't really know how many other children that he's accosted. I can tell you that probably you are not the only person in that church that that man has done something to, because people just don't stop urges like that. When you have a sickness and you got this attraction to children, and you are around children all the time, there's really nothing that stops that urge from happening. And I'm sure that he's acted on that urge with other children in that church, but just like you, nobody's come forward. Now that he's a grown man, even though he was grown back then, but now that he's an older man and he is a youth pastor in the church, and he's in charge of a whole bunch of kids that, you know, parents have put their trust in him and his, you know, and their confidence in him, then yes, you need to say something. Because would you want your child to be placed in the hands of somebody that could be a pedophile? I don't think you would want to. And I think that that's something that you have an obligation to report. Now, I can tell you that it's going to be horrible. It's going to be some hurt feelings. It's going to be people that don't believe you. It's going to be, of course, he's going to deny it. You may interrupt his marriage and cause them some issues, but that's really not your concern. You might bring some problems in your own relationship with your woman, because, you know, it's kind of not really knowing exactly which way she's going to fall in this whole situation. You know, it's going to be scandalous, especially if it's one of those churches that everybody grew up in together, and you guys have all become adults now, and you guys know how church families are. It's just the same as any old regular family. It's a bunch of, you know, dysfunction and gossip and people doing things that the other person don't know about, cheating and marriages and all kind of stuff that goes on. So yeah, it's going to be a big deal, and you got to get yourself prepared for that. But I think that really is an obligation that you have. You've got these kids that might be in danger. Now, on your end, I'm with your best friend. I really think that this is an issue that you have to work through. You need to go to counseling. Do I think that you're gay? No. But what I do think is this. What happened to you back when you were 10 years old happened to you, and then nothing else happened, right? So it was pretty much done. Fast forward 13 years, all of a sudden he decides to make a pass at you. Now, I don't really understand what made him think that he could do that and that it was going to be all right, why he was comfortable enough to do something like that, you know, all this time later. But, you know, so I don't really understand that. But when he made the pass at you, all of a sudden, this is kind of how, now I ain't no psychologist, but this is kind of how I see it. All of a sudden, you're catapulted back to when you were 10 years old. Now, you said that this was a man that you really admire, somebody that you looked up to as your big brother. You know, when you look up to somebody, I know this is really hard for people to understand, but when you look up to somebody, you don't want to let them down, okay? So you are in the care of this grown man. Now, he knows what he's doing is wrong, but you don't know that. So he kisses you, and you get all these emotions going at once. You are afraid. It's kind of thrilling because maybe you haven't been kissed before. It could wake up some kind of sexual feelings in you that you were really innocent to before that. You don't think that this is okay, but then maybe it is, okay? You're not really sure. You know that it doesn't feel right, but then you know, some part of you might start to blame yourself, like, man, did I make him do this? Is there something that I did to make him want to do this to me? So, you know, there may be some blaming issues there. Then you may have even tricked yourself into believing that you liked it and that you wanted it, but you were ashamed of it. So then you had them other emotions that you were dealing with. So it's a whole bunch of emotions to me that gets jumbled up together when something like this happens to you at a really young, impressionable age, like 10 years old. To me, that is really an age where a whole lot is going on, and you can make the most impact on a child, you know, either positive or negative. So I think that you need to go to counseling. You really need to go and straighten out all those memories and really try to figure out exactly how you felt about it, and really try to work through the issues. It's gonna be difficult, and you're gonna need a support system. Hopefully your fiance will be there for you and everything. 23 years old, you're young, but it's not, you know, it is young to get married. But yeah, before you get married, you need to work through these issues because, you know, you don't want it to come back up later on. Like I said, I'm not a psychologist or nothing, but I've seen enough of this kind of thing happening, especially with that Eddie Long situation out here, and how confused those guys were after they had become adults. And, you know, some of them still didn't consider themselves gay, even though they were, you know, in this homosexual relationship with Eddie Long. So yeah, I think that that really screws up people, and I really want you to try to work that out. Good luck to you. Over this past weekend, I went to visit my brother and his wife and 4 kids. We were kicking it all day, and everything was smooth. We were laughing and joking and just having a great time. And somehow my brother and I, started talking about things that had happened in the past. Well, this one particular subject came up, and I knew this was going to be a sensitive subject, so I didn't respond to it. However, my brother kept discussing the subject until I made a comment. I guess I should explain the subject matter. So the discussion was about back in 2001, my brother and his wife had fallen on hard times, and it was nearing the holidays. Neither one of them were working. So they both came to me and asked if I would put a child care check in my name. Basically say that I was babysitting the kids so they could have happy holidays. So he was getting a check for babysitting the kids and giving the check to his brother and his wife and the brother's wife. That's what I'm getting from this. Mind you, I knew this was wrong, but I went against my better judgment and agreed to do it for the kids. Mind you, again, I was working full-time, so I wasn't getting no benefit out of the deal. Well, long story short, one time the check didn't come when my brother and his wife, expected it to come, and they had suggested that I kept the check. Well, they ended up jumping me. The same day when I got home from work, after the incident was over, the wife began to call me and left messages about how she was going to let the welfare know that I stole the kids' info and that I fraudulently took their information. So that following day, I had went to the welfare and told them exactly what was going on, about how I worked full-time and I never watched the kids. Me thinking it was over, we ended up getting cool again a short while later. Then in 2004, their house had gotten raided because the state had picked up the case, and I was subpoenaed to court to testify, which I did. Well, they charged her with felony welfare fraud, and I didn't get anything against me. And again, in 2010, we got over it, so I thought. And we remained cool up until this past weekend. So I made the comment that the state took it up and I had nothing to do with it, and this upset my brother, which resulted in him getting in my face, cursing me out, all while the kids are standing there. He began to make gestures as if he wanted to fight. I simply told him that I was not going to fight him in the house, and I proceeded to leave. My brother, grabbed me from behind and threw me to the ground and began to choke me until I saw stars. And on top of that, he robbed me out of $100, which was in my pocket. The kids were screaming, telling him to let me go, and he finally did. So I got home, I called the police and make a report, and then I took myself to the hospital, where they told me I had some contusion and fractured pelvic. 2 days later, the detective called me and told me I could press charges for felony unarmed robbery and misdemeanor assault, and also that my brother, also had warrants out for his arrest. But my issues is that he is a sole provider in the household, and I'm afraid that if I press charges, he will be put away in jail, and the kids would have to suffer by losing not only their income but their home as well. However, how do I just let this situation pass, or should I indeed press charges knowing what the end result will be? Y'all, for real. Oh my God. What the hell? Like, for real? Y'all be fighting like this in your families? Damn. You guys, I'm gonna tell you, when I first read this letter, I was just like, oh, and then he going to jail. I don't give a damn. Nigga done went and beat me up and busted my damn pelvic all up and gave me contusions and all that, stole my money. Oh no, he is going to jail. Case closed. That was it. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, okay, let me back up. I have a brother who is a sole provider for his household, and if he was put in jail, his family would suffer. So I don't know what my brother would have to do to me to make me want to put him in jail, but I don't think that I could do it. I just don't think that I could put my own brother in jail. I would feel guilty and I would feel wrong about it. So if it were me, I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't press the charges, but I would cut all ties with him, because you don't have to. He's still gonna be your brother, but you don't have to deal with him, especially with them beating you up and stuff like that. I mean, you actually get into physical fights as grown people. For real, I guess I knew what happened, but damn. But you don't have to deal with him. I would just let karma take care of it, because he already has warrants out for his arrest. And eventually the law will catch up with them. So yeah, that's my advice. I would just say, I wouldn't press charges, but I would understand if that's what you chose to do. But I think that if you just cut your ties with him, really cut your ties, because that is not healthy. You got to be sitting up with your damn family members, and you ain't sure if they gonna whoop your ass every 15 minutes. Like, I can't be having that kind of stress in my life. I would rather not deal with my family than having to go through that. I feel for you. I was like, he broke your damn pelvic. He must have been kicking you in the stomach or something. Oh. If your own family members is gonna stomp you out, then you know what, you don't need to. That's somebody you just don't need to deal with. I've never done anything like this before, but I definitely need to get some guidance and advice from a stranger to get their honest point of view without the obligation to feel sorry for me or pretend to care. My mom is really sick and suffering from complications due to lung cancer, and more recently cancer in the brain. I don't want to go into too much detail as far as her condition, but it's not looking too good. I'm 20 years old, and I am feeling guilty about living my life and continuing to pursue my goals while my mom sort of slows behind me and gradually declines in health. I'm depressed, stressed, and so very tired, as well as my dad, who also helps take care of her. This is a very hard and trying time in our life, and we struggle every day to keep things positive and upbeat for my mother. I just wanted to know how you deal with losing a parent, mom or dad, especially during the post-teen, pre-adult stage, not just post-death, but during the time of possible and nearing death. Will it be even harder after my mom passed? If so, how do I deal with it? First of all, you guys, for those of you guys who have been watching my videos for a long time, you guys all know that my mother died from breast cancer. So I, first of all, have got to get it together, because you guys know that whenever I really get to talking about my mom's illness, it makes me want to cry. But I ain't gonna cry. I'm hard. Now, I want you to understand that I'm going to be talking, I'm not being harsh and I'm not trying to be blunt, but it is what it is. Your mom has cancer. It's understood that your mom is going to die eventually. So I'm not real clear on what you mean in the letter when you're talking about feeling guilty, because I can kind of read that two different ways. So I'll address them both. If you're feeling guilty about the fact that, you still want to live your life, and go about and do things while your mom is at home sick, and you're starting to feel like the struggle between trying to be there for her but then also living your life as a 20-year-old, then this is what I say. Right now, your mom is going to die, and I feel like this is a situation where you have to put your life on the back burner, because you're 20 years old and you're young and you have your whole life ahead of you. Your mom probably doesn't have much longer. The fact that you're going to be able to do all the things that you want to do eventually, as much as you want to, whenever you want to, this is the time that you need to be there with your mother, because when she's gone, trust me, she is gone. You are not able to say the things that you wish you could have said. You're not able to just look at them. Sometimes you just want to see them sleeping. Sometimes you just want to hear them breathing. Sometimes you just want to look at them, and when they are gone, I'm telling you, it's gone. So my advice to you that is, yeah, it sucks that you have to be there. You have to be the strong one, especially at being 20 years old. You're just becoming an adult, and all of a sudden everybody is expecting you to be the strong person for your mother. But my advice is that it's something that you have to do. I would hate for your mom to die and for you to have some regrets. Now, I do know of people that have regrets for not saying and doing and being there for, a parent that has passed along, because they were, feeling like they need to go on about their life and the person is still going to be there. But yeah, the reality is that they're not going to be there. If that's the kind of guilt that you're feeling, I think that you need to be there for your mom. Now, if you're feeling guilty that you are going to still be alive and your mom is dying, and that you're still going to be strong, and move on with your life and grow, as an adult, then my advice to you is that this is the natural order of things. This is how God has planned it, that we as children eventually are going to have to bury our parents, and that is really the most desirable way, because trust me, as a parent, you would never want to bury your child. So yeah, it sucks that you have to think of your mom or your dad not ever being there for you again, but it happens. I'm hard. Now, it is hard to really be upbeat and positive and happy and really trying to always carry the weight of everything, and you just don't have to always be like that. Sometimes you're going to need to cry. Sometimes you're going to need to be mad. Sometimes you're going to need to express your feelings. It's something that you can't feel like you just have to be 100% strong all the time. It is a sorry, horrible, jacked up time. So I'm not saying that you can't feel a certain way. Don't feel guilty that you feel anything, because there's no one way that you're supposed to feel when your parent is dying. Maybe you and your dad can work in shifts, or you're going to need some time to yourself. I'm not saying that you just always have to be there at her beck and call, because if you're not no good to yourself, you're not going to be good to her. So get whatever that is that you need to get out of you. Maybe you can join the support groups of families that have parents that are dying, because I know that there are a lot of groups like that, and you can relate with other people who are going through the same thing. I don't know. It's really hard to give that kind of advice, because my mother died when I was 35 years old, so I was already an adult and I already had my own life. When your parent dies when you are at your 20s, this is like right when you're about to start becoming an adult. This is about the time that you actually start to get back close with your parents, because from when you're like 15 till about 19, 20, you don't really want to be bothered with your parents. You're hanging out with your friends and doing everything, but eventually you make it back to your parents. So I know that it's difficult to you know, to think that now all of a sudden you're going to have to be facing your life as a young adult without your mother. There's no one way to feel. I can't tell you that it's going to get better anytime soon, because for me, it was even more difficult once my mother died. Once it really hit me that she was definitely not coming back. She was gone in the mausoleum. I mean, that was a really trying time to me. So I can tell you that it's going to probably get worse before it gets better. But the good thing is that it does eventually get easier. It never goes away. I still can cry at the drop of a hat if I really sat here and start talking about my mom. And it's been 7 years. So, I feel for you. I really, really hope that you're able to get some sort of solace and some sort of peace in the midst of all of this storm that's going on in your life right now. Alright, you guys, that is it. Woo, I am tired. This one today, y'all threw me for some loops today. I hope that some of that advice has helped you guys. You never really know if you're telling the person the right thing. That's why I'm just saying that I'm just looking at it from my viewpoint. If anybody out there has a different approach or feels that their way might be better, feel free to leave it in the comment section, because that's what this whole Roxicology thing is about. I am not a professional. But enough of that, you guys. So, oh Lord, here come damn kids selling something. I'm telling you, they sell most stuff out here in Atlanta. Everywhere you look around, it's the most panhandling this ass city. Anyway, you guys, I'm not going to be doing Hollywood Exes because I have just decided that the show is boring and I am not really interested in these women's lives. I'm not doing it. The show is just really not even that exciting. It's not even that it's not drama filled, because, you know, Braxton's Family Values is not drama filled. It doesn't have to be that kind of drama. It just needs to be entertaining. But it ain't even really entertaining. And every time I turn around, that damn Andrea Kelly is crying. Every single episode. For real, I'm over it. So I'm not doing the show. I'm sorry for those of you guys that really want me to do it. I just don't, it just doesn't hold my interest. I know that there's other people that do it, so you guys might have to just go on and check it out over at other folks' channel. I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. That's it. You guys remember to rate, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I'm It's Rox. The channel is for It's Rox, and everything else I do will be in the bottom bar below, okay? Alright, I hope that you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I plan on doing the same. Until next time, Roxstars. Bye.